Hi there, Jeff here from the Wetsuit Centre, talking to you today about the Billabong Solution Zero for winter 2012 into 2013. A suit which has changed radically since last year. Basically, the Solution Zero is the top-end suit from Billabong. It used to be the SGX, which introduced the Yamamoto neoprene, which is a certain type of neoprene used quite regularly by triathletes. Very lightweight, very non-absorbent, so it's great sort of feeling in the water. And stays a lot lighter while you're actually using it. And that material then led to the introduction of this suit, which is the Zero. And the Zero was more sort of all-around wetsuit, so it's very warm, whereas the SGX is more about flexibility and performance. The Zero introduces a lot of thermal properties throughout the suit, though things like lining, the seams sort of changed basically. And they come up with the Solution Zero. So this particular suit this year is really about the seams is the big change, and some of the lining as well. So it's a big sort of step forward for this suit, and it looks really fantastic. Start with some of the basic things that some people might not be aware about. It's a 5mm suit, this one. Basically means it's 5mm of neoprene throughout the majority of the suit, and it does get thinner in certain places where it'd be a bit more flex. So most suits are about 543, but this suit does feel quite thick the whole way through. So it's going to be nice and warm, nice and snug and cosy. Some of the usual things that you've got like the smooth skin panel on the front and around the back, and that's especially treated neoprene, which is basically better at repelling wind or keeping wind out of the wetsuit. So that's great for sort of everyone really who's a water user, especially in the winter months. Some of the usual things that you would expect with a suit like this as well. Crypto knee pads, Duraflex knee pads, whatever you want to call them. They're basically pre-bent knees, so they puff up slightly, fit to your knee, and they're very hard wearing and durable, so the suit's not going to wear through on the knees, which is a common place for it to wear through. The neck, you've got a single line neck, and basically Billabong used this sort of like styling which goes underneath the Adam's apple, which makes it very comfortable, and on the inside you've got smooth skin there, which is nice against the neck, creates a better seal, and will hopefully stop you getting too many rashes. So single line neck. I like the single line neck personally because it's less restrictive. It doesn't really sort of pull on in your neck, so I'm sort of quite keen on that style of neck. And for people that don't like suits restricting them around the neck, that is a sort of good little feature. The zip is a standard sort of waterproof zip. This particular suit is a chest zip system. So basically that means that you get rid of the need for a zip on the back of the suit like you would have with a back zip wetsuit. Frees up the back panel of the suit. You get an unbroken seal around the neck, which means it's less prone to flush throughs, but it is harder to get in and out of than a back zip. So people that do have a preference towards back zip, then obviously they might not want to sort of look at this particular sort of chest zip version. But once you do get the hang of getting in and out of the suit, it is pretty much straightforward. Before delving inside the suit then, really sort of bring you up to speed in terms of what's new about the suit and what's the sort of like unique selling points. Primarily, it's the quality of the neoprene. As I mentioned before, it's the Yamamoto neoprene. 100% of the suit is the Yamamoto neoprene, and basically this is the suit that's used by triathletes. It's a Japanese neoprene, and basically it's very, very sort of non-absorbent, which keeps the suit very light in the water. So obviously it's great for swimming, but it's also really good for surfing. It's really good for any sort of water sport, basically, because the less water a suit takes on, the warmer you could be, the quicker it dries, and the lighter it will feel in the water, so less restrictive. So it's very, very soft to the touch, really, really flexible the whole way through the suit. So I doubt your arm's going to stretch that far. And yeah, basically a really high-grade quality neoprene. The seams on the suit, then this is probably the biggest change. It's a pretty sort of new technology which is just sort of coming through on all the sort of different companies' top-end suits. And it's called a power seam technology, basically. And what that means is the suit is essentially stitchless on the outside of the wetsuit, and this one pretty much the whole way through. And what they do is they just bond the seams like you would have in a triathlete suit, and then they put this sort of very thin taping over the top just to really seal it, reinforce it, and stop the suit sort of the suit leaking in any sort of place. And you get that inside and out. So on the inside you can see around there, around the key areas, so like the arms and everything here. You've got no stitching around there. Further inside the suit, instead of that taping, which is a little bit abrasive against the skin, you do get a different sort of type of seal on the seams. I'll show you a bit more in a second, but essentially it's more of a taping, which is becoming more and more common, because it feels better against the skin, that flat taping, and that just goes over the seams on the inside. But you do get some of the liquid bonding on some of the critical areas where you need a bit more strength. Okay, I'll show you that in a second though. All of the seams, as you can imagine, they're sort of very strategically placed, all pre-bent so that they don't restrict the movement of the suit in any way. Across the whole upper part of the suit here, you've got one piece of neoprene. Again, that gives you really dynamic stretch, stops the suit restricting you any sort of movement in any way. And that sort of thin taping runs the whole way through the suit. So the idea being that particular sort of technology or style of seam is very unrestrictive and is very, very flexible and is not going to inhibit your movement in any way, shape or form. Okay, so further down with the smooth skin, you can see they've put some on your hips there as well, basically. So you've got one piece of neoprene running down here. Again, unrestricted movement right the way through here, and that smooth skin just keeps the wind off your hips when you're sat on your board. There might be another reason for the placement there, but that's the sort of reason I can put it down to. But yeah, nice warm hips. Everyone likes warm hips. In terms of the entry, basically you've got the chest hip entry. Slightly different this year. Obviously it's sealed on one side, which means that it stops any flush throughs through the side of the zip. The only place it can come through is here. But then to sort of stop that happening, they basically bring the collar up very high, so any water that does come up here is met with this piece of neoprene here and then comes out through the drain holes here on the side of the suit, and then you've also got some at the back as well, just to get the water out of the collar of the suit. But this is the thing that's a bit different this year. Hopefully I'll be able to make sense of this too. But essentially it's quite strange. You've got like a batwing system in a chest suit. So you've got kind of like an over-the-head system, so you get in through here basically. Then the piece of neoprene goes up over your head, and they've got a little clip this year, basically, that clips on the front of the suit, like that. So basically it's called a Drymax G2 neck entry. I know that because I just read it off the collar. And basically that means that the piece of neoprene is brought up very high, so there's very little chance of flush through. So the whole idea is to really minimise the flush throughs that you get into the suit, which is really unpleasant in the winter months, especially in the UK. Okay, so that goes up and over the head. So it's kind of like a hybrid of the normal system and a batwing system. So it should be really effective in terms of keeping the water out of the suit. So the next big thing with this particular suit is the lining inside, which I'll show you. A lot of people might be aware of the flash bomb or the flash dry material that Rip Curl have been using. They had exclusivity on this particular material for the first year, so they came out with a flash bomb. A really, really popular wetsuit because basically the lining dries in 15 minutes or thereabouts, and it's very, very furry and fluffy, really good at keeping you warm and insulating you. But obviously drying quickly is a really big bonus because no one likes getting back into a cold wetsuit, especially in sort of January and February. So obviously that material is no longer exclusive to Ripka, so a lot of the companies are including it now, but just with slightly different designs. Billabong's one is quite nice though. You do have this furry material, which is the wicking material. It's like a thermal material, basically like a polypro, and what that does, it's back-combed, which basically brings up a sort of fluffiness to the material. It pulls the water out of the thermal material, and then that allows it to dry quicker, basically. So it pulls the moisture out of the material, making it dry quicker. But it also insulates you very well, because that furry thermal material is much like thermal underwear, and instead of losing heat through the neoprene, basically this furry material will help keep any body heat inside the suit and keep you a lot warmer and keep you in the water for longer. One thing that Billabong do that Rip Curl don't, they've got channels running down through here, which they say basically helps channel the water out of the suit a bit quicker. But what kind of difference that actually makes, I'm not 100% sure, but basically that's why the channels are there. But it's probably more down to the fact that they can't copy Rip Curl too much. Okay, so the seams on the inside of the suit, you've got that flat taping the whole way through, makes it nice and comfortable, and that thermal lining goes right down to the ankle, you can see there basically. But on the arm, you have got the liquid taping, and the reason they've done that is just to make it a bit more robust on the arm. A bit more durability, because that is the sort of typical place where the suits break and wear through. So instead of just having the taping, they have that liquid taping on the inside as well, just to make sure that no water comes through. Okay, so obviously you've got the quick drying material, you've got it in the front, and you've got the whole way down the back of the suit as well. So extremely warm wetsuit. That combined with the power seams should make it very, very flexible. And for anyone that's keen with Billabong or want to try Billabong, want a top end suit that's going to give them warmth, flexibility, comfort and dry quickly, then the Billabong Solution Zero is definitely a recommendation from the Wetsuit Centre.